Over Christmas, Theo and I headed down to New York for a few days. We had a busy morning, so we left in the afternoon and we got the bus. It's the cheapest way to get from Boston to New York, but it's not a great drive in the bus. This is our room at the Sonder Henri on 24. The next morning, I really wanted to get a slice of home at the Bourke Street Bakery. It's not quite Surrey Hills, but it was pretty good and the coffee was at least as good as I expected it to be. Then I got lost trying to find the right subway entrance at 28th Street and ended up in the New York Life building, which had this absolutely magnificent tree. We took some photos here and they're on Instagram if you want to see them. How lovely would it be to come into the office every day and see this gorgeous tree in the lobby? My high expectations of New York's festive decorations were still being met at this point. I thought this pop-up for Asvuline was pretty cool. They do those expensive coffee table books about places like Ibiza and Morocco. We then headed into the most beautiful bookstore. Albertine Books is a French language bookstore, but it's worth visiting for the celestial ceiling and the general aesthetic. Bookstores are often a good respite from the busyness of the streets, and they give me a moment to regroup and decide on my next move while looking at pretty things in a cozy environment. On the way out, I popped my head into this room, which looks like it should be in a European palace. Next stop was the Met, or the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and this was the main activity for the day. I love the Met. I visited 46 art museums in 2022, and the Met houses one of the most impressive and expansive collections that I've seen. Then we got a hot dog, which at $6 for two is probably the cheapest lunch in the city. And Bergdorf Goodman isn't far, so we popped in there after. I just love the Christmas displays in these department stores, and I can't imagine what it must have been like back when this was where people came to discover new styles and products. Like, it's already amazing, but it must have been so much more spectacular back then. There's the big tree at the Rockefeller Center. There's me having my pre-dinner Negroni, and then we dined at Cafe China. Those baby ribs were so good. It's a very chic Szechuan restaurant in Midtown. It's decorated with heavy vintage and chinoiserie vibes. Good food, good atmosphere, good beer, it hit the spot. The second day began with coffee at Gumption, which is one of the many Australian cafes that has made its way to New York, before popping into this cute little store. Fisher's Eddy has the weirdest collection of restaurant crockery in a bunch of different styles and eras. I thought it was a bit expensive for what it was, but worth popping in for a browse, and probably would have bought something if I wasn't on a strict no knick-knack streak. Then I had a look in ABC Carpet and Home. They had decorated really nicely for Christmas, but I wasn't really interested in anything they had. We still hadn't eaten breakfast, so we went to Bread's Bakery, where some strangers were feeling very merry. They had a good selection of baked treats, and the store got really busy shortly after we arrived, so it's clearly quite popular. They were selling lots of Stollen, which is funny because it's not very popular in Australia. I had a triangle pastry with feta inside for the savoury part of my breakfast, and then we shared a cinnamon scroll croissant type thing. Both of these were pretty good. Next, we stopped in at Guitar Center. Theo was absolutely in heaven and he serenaded me for a little bit, which was lovely. We probably spent the better part of an hour in here with Theo trying out a few different guitars, and it was fun. That worked up an appetite, so we went to Rubirosa in Soho, where we had a pizza and enjoyed the cozy atmosphere while the weather went from cold to rain to snow outside. I forgot to get a video of myself here, but here are a couple of photos. After lunch, we headed to the MoMA design store, which had lots of lovely bits and bobs and fun things to play with, like this light. The glassware is all very pretty, but I think I would break this spoon within about half a second of having it. There's the snow! This is still super exciting for me. While it was snowing outside, we popped into Aritzia for a bit of a browse, but also to pick up a free coffee, which they have upstairs at their Soho location. This was absolutely perfect and exactly what I needed. And then a little later on, it was time to say goodbye to New York for now.